Near mint condition, the home of collected editions. Oh my gosh, look at that panel of Batman. You have the absolute, you have the deluxe. DC Comics firing on all cylinders. Finally, decades of waiting for a collected edition, Batman Year 3 is coming out from DC Comics, and it is coming out in a deluxe edition. I, the Uncanny Omar, from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions, am going to be talking about this exact book and what this particular year brought to Batman fans. So, join me. Right, so we are looking at the latest Batman Deluxe Edition, and it is Batman Year 3. Oh my gosh, 10 years ago, I would have killed for something like this. I still think it's really cool, and of course, it was, to me, one of the most essential reads of this month, in case you have never read this. So really quick, it is a deluxe edition, meaning that it's bigger than your standard size trade paperbacks, or the trim size of a single issue. It's taller and longer. So it's the size of an omnibus, of course, not as thick right here. By the way, I've always loved those George Perez covers, including this one here. It's just got so much energy and just says so much about what is happening or what's going to happen in this comic. Marv Wolfman, Pat Broderick, John Beatty, and Adrian Roy. Batman Year 3, the deluxe edition, the DC Bullet logo there. Kind of bringing it back home, really. Batman Year 3, the deluxe edition. You've got bats right there. Wolfman, Broderick, Beatty, and the DC logo. And bats again. Robin is dead, and Batman will never be the same. What? So, Batman Year 3, I guess if you're going to put it on your shelf, doesn't really go after Batman Year 2. As a matter of fact, some time has passed in between. So what it really goes after, and in between, is the Batman Death in the Family Deluxe Edition. Because we have the Death in the Family, and then we have A Lonely Place of Dying, and this takes place in between both of those stories. So I guess if you have Batman, and only in Deluxe Edition, have fun putting it on your shelf. Or I guess just get the DC Finest, or maybe one day the Omnis of this stuff in chronological order. But hey, I have done a video on the channel with Batman reading orders. Shift the focus back to this. Let's take it out of the dust jacket. We have that zoom in George Perez piece right there. He's always in control, or he was, until Jason died. And then this piece from the cover again. So both Perez's piece, and I love the fact that they've blown up the cover. Batman Year 3, Deluxe Edition, Wolfman, Broderick, Beatty, the DC logo. And yes, a young Dick Grayson right there mourning his dead parents. All right. Let's open this up and talk about this unique year, because it's a lot different than Year 1 and Year 2. And I know Year 2 is a lot different than Year 1, but this is a lot different than both of those. And then, of course, if it's still in continuity, or what I always call headcanon, right? Like, or if it's headcanon. All right, let's open up Year 3. Black end sheets there. Batman Year 3, the Deluxe Edition. I still love that image of Dick Grayson just crying there. So, the credits. Marv Wolfman, the writer. Pat Broderick, the penciler. John Beatty and Michael Baer, the inkers. Adrian Roy, she's the one that's supplying the color. And John Costanza is the letterer. Covers are by George Perez and Anthony Tolan. And then Trish Mulvihill does the colors for the actual dust jacket. The forward here is an excellent historical forward by none other than Dan Raspler, who was the assistant editor at the time to Dennis O'Neil. So, collected in here is Batman, 436 to 439. This book has 112 pages and retails for $29.99. Or, I'm sorry, $19.99. How dare I? $19.99. And this is such a good introduction. If you don't know anything about this era, I suggest reading the book first, then coming back for the introduction, because it will spoil a lot of things. So spoilers, not just for the story here, but also the story of a death in the family and what is to come in Lonely Place of Dying. So just be aware of that. I realize the stories are old, but not everybody has read everything. So we kick it off with this issue of Batman 436. In the aftermath, so it's been some time since we've had a death in the family, where Batman ended up losing Robin. Jason Todd Robin, the second Robin, got killed by the Joker. Blown to bits. Got killed by the readers, really. And yeah, Batman is now in a lonely place. He feels out of touch with reality. He's kind of a little bit of a loose cannon, and he's not doing the job that he used to be good at doing. Like, going after these goons right here. And, like, trying to catch up to this helicopter and falling into the river instead. And what's unique about this, and what's so different, is that immediately you're like, wait a second, this takes place after Death in the Family? Then how is this year 3? Out of all the years, whether it's Batman year 1 or 2, or even the Robin year 1 or Batgirl year 1, this one is unique because it takes place during present time and a series of flashbacks. So it's done in like now and the present, or as present day, and then the flashback as to that first year of Robin or the third year of Batman. So, by the way, nice Conan statue, Batman. You got some good taste. Pat also drew Conan back in the day. So it is the return of Dick Grayson coming back to the Batcave in modern time. And he realizes something. And again, this is the way that Batman is dealing with things. He realizes that Batman has kept all these trophies. We know the penny, we know the dinosaur, the Joker card. But there are no signs that Jason Todd Robin had ever existed. Everything that said Jason Todd was Robin, or anything that Jason Todd, is gone. And he's like, I don't know what's going on. Jason was real, flesh and blood. He was your son. What's wrong with you, Bruce? What's happened to you? So he realizes that Bruce is not reacting to this death the way that he should be. Then again, we are talking about a guy that dresses up as a bat, right? We have a flashback here of some gangsters that will play an important part. And the main story really is about Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne dealing with the death of Jason Todd, but also the return of somebody that played an important part in Dick Grayson's childhood, not in a good way. Anthony Zuko is up for parole, like he can get out now, and he's the man responsible for the death of the Flying Graysons. So this is really cool, by the way. This young boy right here that's with his mom and dad is going to the circus, and there's Dick Grayson and the Flying Graysons, and he's like, hey, can I get a picture? And Dick Grayson's like, yeah, come over here, let's get a picture of the whole family. Tim, say cheese. That's right, what we're looking at here is the first appearance of Tim Drake, the boy that will become the third Robin. So he's sitting here in the stands, and he's the one that notices that he's doing like a quadruple somersault. And later on, of course, in Lonely Place of Dying, he's like, wait a second, I've seen that move before from Robin. That's Robin. This kid, this Flying Grayson, Dick Grayson is Robin. That means Bruce Wayne is Batman. Smartest guy, man. Smart kid. But yes, we see the demise of the Graysons. It's something that we have seen before in the pages of Batman and Teen Titans, but now this is like the definitive origin. This is how they ended up dying, and then Batman coming into the scene and rescuing this young boy, because, you know, he had lost his parents. This boy is taken to an orphanage where Bruce Wayne wants to make him his ward. And this is a really, like, deep psychological study between these, like, two men that, why didn't you adopt me? Why did you just make me a ward? So there's a lot of that going on. So in present day, we've got Nightwing trying to find out who perhaps is... something happens in the first... I said spoilers, so let's talk about the spoilers. So Zuko does get out, and what ends up happening is that Dick Grayson has to go and investigate why Bruce Wayne never called him after Jason died. But not only that, something ends up happening to Zuko that you're going to see a lot of detective skills from Dick Grayson. And it's Dick Grayson realizing just how much Bruce has lost and the way he's reacting. It's not the best way to react to someone's death. We've got Alfred here, and I love this because this kind of solidifies the relationship that Alfred has with Dick Grayson, because there is no other relationship like that in the Bat family. We saw it in the pages of Nightfall, which I just talked about, where it's the return of Alfred, and who goes after him? None other than Dick Grayson. But he wants to protect the boy, because he knows that Zuko's getting out. So there's a scene where he's like holding a gun, but he's like, even I cannot do this. But there's a whole legal system here trying to adopt him. So there's a scene in the court. Let's go back to this. This is such a really powerful scene between people. Even, you know what? There's so many layers to this story. Even when there are no word bubbles, there's no dialogue, it says a lot about the characters and the way that they are. So we have Bruce Wayne and Alfred showing a young Dick Grayson around Bruce Banner. And Bruce is like, here, let me show you this other thing. And Alfred's like, is this wise? And Bruce is like, yeah, he needs to know the whole thing. And he shows him the Batcave. And he shows him that he's Batman. So it shows him in training. I love this montage. Every time I read that, just 80s music, man. Nothing but like Rocky themes from Rocky 4, the best soundtrack. Anyway, best movie soundtrack for working out, by the way. So we go back present day, past, and the whole mystery of Zuko. And there's actually this whole like parallel lives thing going on too with Anthony Zuko. We get to see how he lost his parents and a bit about his past. And yeah, this is the scene I was talking about. I'm skipping a little bit around here. By the way, on the opposite side of each of the covers, there's only 4 issues, so I can't go on forever, even though I really like this story, but I do want people to be surprised by reading it. On the opposite side, we get a black and white. We get like the finished pencils and inks of the art. I just love that. But yes, we eventually see this confrontation between a Zuko that has gotten out and Batman kind of keeping Nightwing away from all of this because he knows how much Zuko being there will trigger all these memories in Dick Grayson. And of course, Dick Grayson also trying to come back into Batman's life. And there's lots of scenes with confrontation. My favorite scene actually happens in the courtroom when Bruce Wayne is trying to get custody of Dick Grayson. And it makes sense, right? From a legal standpoint, from the state's standpoint, like, why would we give a playboy millionaire a boy to take care of? I love the fact that the only way he's going to win this, as he thinks about it, is not to be Batman, not to be Bruce Wayne, but to be Bruce Wayne, the son of Martha and Thomas. That's the only way I'm going to be able to win this. And I love that. That says a lot about the understanding of the character of Bruce Wayne. And again, what he was willing to do for this child that he feels such a connection to. So all the way in the back, you can find out what happens to Zuko and what happens to the rest of the story. But the next place is the Lonely Place of Dying. This immediately leads into the Lonely Place of Dying. We do have the house ad and the original art for the house ad. Original pages here. And then the biographies on Marv Wolfman, Pat Broderick, and John Beatty, Michael Baer, George Perez, Adrian Roy, and John Costanza. And then your end sheet. So let's look at the binding. 112 pages. It is glued binding, but there weren't really a lot of spread pages back then. Just lots of splash pages. And printed in this glossy paper stock. Not as thick as the paper stock that they used in the deluxe edition for year 1, but back to the thick paper stock. But that's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this hardcover, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of the Deluxe Edition hardcover. If you have any questions, leave those questions down below. Don't forget to smash that like button on the way out. Check us out on Patreon and Spreadshop, amazing ways to support the channel. And I always like to ask people, what other Deluxe Edition from the world of Batman would you like to see collected? What kind of stories? What kind of events? Not omnis, just these slimmer format books. But that's it, everybody. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.